You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. This is a special episode. We weren't expecting to put out another episode really before the end of the year here, but we had a really great time talking with our friends over at the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast, and they were going to, we're putting this together with them, and they called us up and said, hey, we're going to be doing this episode for our show. We're going to be putting out a two-parter right before Christmas. Can you guys come on and be our guests on this episode? So we were happy to do that. Always have a great time with those guys. So go check them out. If you have not listened to them, I know a lot of our listeners have a bit of a crossover between our two shows, but if you have not listened to them yet, go check them out. Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. A bunch of great shows. Had a great Die Hard Lethal Weapon couple of episodes here lately. But this episode is a very special one where we talk about, it's special because it's a holiday special. So this time around, you've got two podcasts, bunches of hosts. We are talking this time about the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978. First of all, I want to thank Samuel Kim Music on YouTube. Our intro and outro music for this episode is the Carol of the Bells and Imperial March mashup. So go check them out on YouTube, Samuel Kim Music. Bunch of great mashups and other songs in there. So go check them out. And they're also on Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube, a whole bunch of other places. So yes, please go check them out. All right, without further ado, this is, and it was a recording for their show. So they graciously allowed us to use our own recording of this. Theirs is broken up into a two-parter. So if you want to go check that out, maybe a little bit more manageable episodes for if you're going on a drive somewhere or something. But this one, we took the full, probably 2 hours or so that we talked about this holiday special. Had a great time, had some laughs. A lot of times at the expense of the holiday special, but that's how it goes. So we hope you enjoyed this episode that we did as the guests of the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. I will probably come back at the end and say this as well, but we hope everybody has very happy holidays. Thank you for being here with us throughout 2020, through all the ups and downs of this crazy year. And we look forward to a great start of the year in 2021, or for us, 1991. So I'll see you on the end of this one. And thank you so much for being here. Without further ado, it is the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. We are on a super special edition where we are covering the Star Wars Holiday Special with some of our great friends from the 30-something movie podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Jason. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, D. I'm excited to be here and excited to hang out with our buddies from 30-something Guy.
We have a plate of Wookie Ookie cookies right in front of us here. We're jumping on them. And to introduce the 30-something guys, we have John Reed.
Hey, how's it going? We've got more than 4 people, and I think we need a bantha rump to feed more than 4, don't we? If we have hearty appetite, we have hearty appetites. So, Pat alone could probably take down 1 bantha rump.
We need Harvey Korman and Drag to come and cook it for us.
Yeah.
I don't know what's more disturbing is him doing the cooking show or the fact that they were eating bantha rump. I don't know about that. Any of that. I don't know what that yeah.
Yes. Are banthas supposed to be pets or food?
I know there's that deleted scene, I think, from the original Star Wars where Luke has the macro binoculars. He's like, yeah, there's 2 banthas. I can see one of them now. And that one looks tasty. Look at that. Man, I'd like a side of that. Yeah.
Hey, according to The Mandalorian, the Krayt Dragon really thinks banthas are tasty.
It's true. Oh, man. That show.
Oh, I wish we could talk about that show.
Oh.
All right. Who you got with us tonight, John?
We've got, so I dragged a couple other people here with me. I've got Pat Canigallo. Pat, I think your background here on Zoom, you're on the Orca, aren't you?
That's right. I've been on the Orca, put out from Amity Island, and podcasting ever since. So it's great to be here. huge fan of your guys' show. I mean, it's great. And I know we were saying before we started recording, it's been a while, and it's been a while, but sort of not, because I've listened to you guys like, almost every day I'm listening to one of your episodes. So it feels like, it's just like I just saw you yesterday.
Thanks,
so
man.
thank you so much for having us here.
We feel the same way. You guys, every week it is a joy to listen to you guys get together and hit a movie that's 30 years old.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. And I've also got the man, the myth, the legend, Dennis Matuch over here too.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me, and looking forward to this. You guys are all talking about appetites and eating. I have no idea how after watching that, you guys have an appetite for at least 48 hours.
I did bring Dennis because I wanted to make sure we had somebody who was a full-grown adult when this came on. So, Dennis is really old. He's, what are you now, like 60?
Wait, didn't you just have a birthday, and what was it?
Yeah, it was earlier than yours.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pat, how old are you?
But same decade now.
I'm 42.
Okay, so you're the youngest.
No.
I'm 45.
John's 40.
I'm 40.
John just turned 40.
Happy birthday.
My gosh, happy birthday,
Thank
man.
you.
Happy birthday, John.
Yep.
You're an old soul.
Being an admin, being an administrative office is,
Now, wait a minute, John. Your birthday is very close to Life Day. What are we talking? What day is that?
It's December 6th.
Oh, dang. Well, that was within a couple of weeks.
So. It was close. Yeah. I'm going to start calling my...
John, you're 40. Dennis, how old are you?
49.
That's okay. I'm 47. So
I'm 49.
45. So I'm square in the middle of you guys.
Yep.
We were trying to remember what we really remember about watching the Star Wars Holiday Special. And I thought that I had seen it, when I was a kid, but I would have been 3 years old. But I can remember things from being 3 years old. And then once I watched it on YouTube, I have a specific memory of about the time that the stormtroopers are about to come in. I'm thinking, they canceled the Incredible Hulk for this. Was not happy about that at all.
Dennis, did you see this in the original run?
Yeah, actually, we did. We saw it on TV, the actual run. The only thing that I could remember back then was I remember the big, I have a vague memory of the treehouse, the stormtroopers up there, and I remember Han Solo rushing in, and I do remember Luke being on there and looking different than he did in the movie.
He vividly remembers Diana Carroll.
I did everything else. The first half hour of that movie, I had no clue. It was only up in the treehouse and the Wookiee. I remember it was about Chewbacca and his family, and I have a very vague memory, and it wasn't horrible memory. I must have, expunged that out of my system. Just totally forgot about it. But that's all. So I had a vague memory of seeing it, but I could not remember if I liked it or didn't like it back then. I wonder if my parents sheltered me from the rest of it and just showed me certain parts.
We were just talking. So I definitely am old enough to remember going to see Star Wars in the theaters. But so I was born in 73, so 77, I would be 4. But it was released several times. So it was released in 77. It was re-released in 78 and 79. So I'm not sure which. I remember having a C-3PO figure in my hand when I went. So it couldn't have been the original run. I don't know. It's tough trying to put together those memories, but Star Wars was a hugely important thing in my life.
Yeah.
It still is, really. So.
Yeah, the actual Star Wars I did see in the theater. I mean, because I had 4 older brothers, so I was in that situation where I was going to get dragged along to the theater with them. So I saw a lot of movies when I was I look back now and I'm like, wow, I saw that when I was 5 or 6 or 7. And you kind of remember it. I do remember having nightmare dreams a little bit over the original Star Wars, just about stormtroopers chasing me through Kmart. It was morphed, but they literally morphed with the hallway, the aisles of and I'm running through different hallways, and there's, it was the opening scene really had that impact on it. And, Darth Vader coming through trying to find me, and you're hiding behind the toy aisle and everything else. And I do have those memories of that. But and I remember overall the movie pretty well. This thing, like I said, it was after it, and I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, the original Star Wars I saw in 81. I would have been like 1 or 2 years old, but I know this for a fact because and I saw it at home, didn't see it in the theater, because I was born in 80. My dad, and I remember him telling this, he must have lorded this over us for a while. He must have spent something like $800, $900 on a VCR back in 81. And he only had enough money left over to buy one VHS tape because they were about 80 or 90 bucks a piece at the time. And so he bought the original Star Wars. I still have that VHS tape sitting somewhere in a box. I won't play it because it'll get ripped to shreds if I do. But yeah, I still have that. And that was like my babysitter for a while because my parents realized if they stuck me in front of the TV and put that on, I'm not crawling away. I'm not going anywhere. I'm locked in. So that was the start of my Star Wars love affair.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most nerdy Star Wars fan that you can be, and 1 being you saw one of the movies, where do you guys fall?
This one goes to 11.
Okay.
No, I that's for me. Yeah, for me, it's I'm a 10. If there's something higher than a 10, sure. I'm the one. If Bo was on here, he would tell you don't play Star Wars Trivial Pursuit with me. I had a buddy that I went to I wanted to go to a Star Wars trivia at a bar that's up in one of the towns up here, and I didn't want to be the lonely dork sitting there by myself doing Star Wars trivia. So a friend of mine went with me, and he's like, I like Star Wars, but I'm not going to be able to answer any of these questions. And so I single-handedly answered every single question right, and I won. I mean, I was in a room of like 80 other people, and I won just by myself versus these teams of like 8 to 10 people. So, and I dress my family up. Like, we go to the comic book conventions here in Chicago, and my kids are dressed up. My daughter was the Mandalorian. My wife was Jocasta Nu, the Jedi librarian the last time we went. You know, I've done Luke Skywalker and all this. No, yeah, I go to 11. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Pat, what about you?
Well, if John is a 10, like I've never like been
John's
to a convention.
11. He just said 11.
Okay, John's 11. I mean, I don't know. I would definitely say like an 8 or a 9. The last like a 10. I mean, how much do I love Star Wars? I would say a 10. As far as like just having that knowledge, I think it would kind of be an insult to John if I kind of ranked myself in his category of just having that knowledge. So that's the only thing that I'd knock myself down a little bit on. But how much do I love Star Wars? Oh yeah, because I mean, I remember, you know, like some of my earliest memories playing with the neighbor, and like I had a friend, and she would come over, and I had dark hair, so I was Han Solo. My friend was blonde, so he was Luke Skywalker, and then I had a friend that would come over, and she'd be Princess Leia. I mean, from the earliest memories, I remember having the toys, playing with the toys, grabbing dowel rods or breaking the broom part off a broom handle and then taping it up to make a lightsaber. And I mean, doing all those things, and just like super early memories. Star Wars was always a part of it. In fact, like one of my earliest, I remember Empire Strikes Back. Cause I was 2 when Empire came out, and I remember being taken to the theater to see it, and my parents deny that up and down. But like, I remember getting freaked out with the Imperial Walker scene. I mean, and that scene still, I watch it and it activates something in the reptilian brain. You know, I'm just like, you know, drawn to that. But I remember getting like a shoebox, like you'd buy shoes, and the shoebox, you could open it up and it had some little like pieces you could play with. And it was like a little, your shoebox became this play set that looked like Hoth. Like it had a little picture of the Millennium Falcon. And, you know, so, I mean, all these like super early memories of being a kid and playing with that and all that. And I mean, it was like Star Wars was always there. You know, as soon as the books started coming out, when there were only 3 movies, picking up all the books, reading all the books, talking about it with friends. You know, the idea that there's going to be a prequel series. What? No, really? Well, yeah, look at it, dude. It says episode 4. That means there's 1, 2, and like I just remember spending hours talking about that. And, so anyways, I won't get too long-winded, but I would definitely say 8 or 9. I mean, I'd say 10, but I can't compare to John's, you know, level of Star Wars intelligence and dedication. So I wouldn't want to put myself in his class of that. But love for Star Wars, yeah, I'd definitely put it up there.
All right, Dennis, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, I would very much echoing a lot of what Pat says, especially when John says it's 10 or 11. Now, I would say when I was younger, when, from New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, when those all originally came out as a kid, I'd be up there with 11 with John. I mean, we had everything. We were involved. I mean, it was like, yeah, you were all in with that, just waiting to do whatever you had to do to get there to see that movie on opening day. I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back when it first came out, like first day, opening day, waiting in line. And then same thing with Jedi. It was like we had to see those. Now that I'm, elderly, it's like now you get to the point where with all the other movies, I would say similar thing with Pat, where there's people who are still so very diehard about that all the way up to whatever comes out. While I love it at a 10, my knowledge and probably fan qualifications would be probably closer to like the 8. So I'd put it by probably like around an 8. That would be fair. Otherwise, like Pat perfectly said, it's kind of an insult to anybody who's a 10. If you're going to set 10 as the benchmark and John is an 11, I got to go down to about an 8, maybe 8.5.
So you got George Lucas and John as a 10, and then you drop it down just a little bit lower than that.
Yeah.
John may be above George. I don't know that he cares as much about his
George Lucas, John Favreau. Where are you?
Okay, so I'm glad to be here with you guys because I know that Jason ranks far above me as well. He's going to put himself in the same area that you guys are at. So I watched all of the movies, and I can tell you things about all of the movies. And when I was a kid, I had Star Wars sheets on my bed, and I played with the figurines, but I was not...
Action figures.
Say figurines. Whatever. I played with those a little bit, probably as much as I played with the G.I. Joe guys. But it was, I don't have the nerd knowledge base on this one. I obviously have it on a whole lot of other things, plenty of nerdness over here, but Star Wars is not my wheelhouse. So I would say I'm probably a 5.
Okay. All right. For me, I would say for the original trilogy, I would say I'm a 10. But I start dropping after that. So the prequels, I was opening day guy and, very interested in those. I was a little bit let down, and, the books and the comics, I kind of fade, but 4, 5, and 6 for me, I'm top of the heap probably. So very, very meaningful movies to me. Changed my life.
So I said we should probably break up the conversations that we'll have from time to time by doing a little bit of trivia. And my intention was to bring some Star Wars trivia. And Jason actually has the Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, but I forgot mine. But I happen to have 80s and 90s trivia cards in my car. So I said to Jason, I'm like, this is actually good because I would just fail miserably at the Star Wars trivia. But we will break it up from time to time with some Star Wars trivia and see if you guys have accurately...
Are we ready?
Ranked yourself. Yeah, I'll let me do one. Let me do the first one. Since I'm the guy that doesn't know the Star Wars stuff, I'll be the questionnaire. All right?
Right.
Okay. What is the first line of dialogue spoken in A New Hope? Okay, Jason has his hand up. He's rung his buzzer. Pat, you have your hand up. And John, do you know it?
I think I do. You guys had your hand up first, but I think I know it.
Okay.
I'm going to say I don't know it.
Okay, I'm going to say it's C-3PO saying they've shut down the main reactor, will be destroyed for sure.
I think it's C-3PO saying, "Did you hear that?"
I think I might want to put my hand down. No. No. Okay, I was gonna say they've shut down the main reactor, but I didn't remember the next part. So I don't remember the portion of it is C-3PO saying they've shut down the main reactor.
I would bet that John is correct on that because I think that other line comes either more like a couple sentences in.
I think it's, did you hear that? They've shut down the main reactor.
Well, that is the correct answer. Did you hear that? They shut down the main reactor. So I don't know who to give credit to on that one because you were close, but I got to say that John got the first at least 4 words spot on. So
now, technically, did R2-D2 beep or anything before that? Would that count as dialogue?
I don't
Oh,
think
maybe.
so.
Was he responding back to him, or was he actually the first line? Yeah, I don't know.
Dang it.
Well, it's
already beat me. I mean, I'm done.
It's life day. It's a group effort. I mean, we got the first couple of lines together as a collective thing. So,
all right. Well, are we ready to dive into the Star Wars Holiday Special?
Dive into this thing like a pool we didn't know was empty.
That's right. Okay, so like we said, this was released on November 17th, 1978. The budget was about $1 million on this. We're laughing already.
The Arthur charged that much?
$1 million.
$1 million in 1978. I mean, what was Star Wars' budget? I mean, it wasn't tons, you know?
Oh, well, anything that resembled a special effect was all like a grab from the movie. So I don't know what they spent.
They stole a lot of stuff, footage from the original Star Wars on this.
Oh yeah,
Clearly.
Yeah. The budget for the original Star Wars movie is $11 million.
$11 million bucks. Okay.
This is at least as tenth of good. A tenth as good.
Yeah. If Star Wars is a 10, then this is a 1, right?
Right. By the way, this is the worst score I've ever seen on IMDb. It ranks 2.1 on IMDb out of 10. I've never seen a score that bad in my life.
Wow.
Okay. Have you guys? I take it that you guys watched on YouTube? There's one particular showing of it from a Ohio TV station that's really clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
WHIO, I believe, Channel 7 in Dayton has this wonderful copy on YouTube. If you haven't seen it yet, and you're listening to this, and you want to throw away an hour and 37 minutes of your life, check it out on YouTube. It is crystal clear and pretty good quality.
Grab a beer.
Yeah, the quality of that one is great. And having seen this probably like 6 or 7 years ago, this was a second watch for me, or a second, like all the way through watch for me. And I will say it was funny, already knowing what I was getting myself into when I started watching this, just a few days ago, when that YouTube video popped up, and it actually starts before the special starts. And it's like, The Incredible Hulk will not be shown tonight. And I'm sitting there going, oh man, Incredible Hulk. I'd much rather watch that.
You put me on the Incredible Hulk nerd scale, and I'm a 10, a solid 10 on the Incredible Hulk. When my brother would go get baseball cards, I would only get Incredible Hulk cards. I obsessed over Lou Ferrigno. I watched every movie he was in, even the ones that were, they were all bad, but yeah.
But the question is, D, when you walk out of a room, do you have the Lonely Man theme queued up on your phone to play?
I put my head down
and then I
pull it up and roar.
Do people not want to make you angry?
Like me when I'm angry.
Okay.
When his eyes turn pale blue, just run for the hills.
All right.
So this was broadcast on a Friday right around Thanksgiving. Like we said, November 17th. 13 million people watched this. It finished second behind The Love Boat.
Let's be specific. 13 million people watched about the first hour of this. And then there was a unanimous click heard around the world as people turned their TV dial to some other channel besides CBS.
It's as if a million voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
I got that reference. I got it. This one started off, it was a pitch by CBS to Lucas, and they wanted to do it, and Lucas saw this as an opportunity to make more money with the action figures other merchandise. But their plan was to do a combination of Star Wars and a variety show, because in the 70s, variety shows were the thing, right? You had the Carol Burnett show, and you had Hee Haw. There were a bunch of
the Mandrell sisters.
Yeah, there were a ton of those kind of variety shows, but actually by 1978, people had kind of gotten tired of them, so it was a really dated idea that they decided to go ahead with anyway.
Well, and frankly, I mean, you guys are probably going to mention this, but frankly, on paper, it looks like this should have been fine. Like they had some pretty good talent lined up for this. I mean, they had Art Carney. I mean, they had Harvey Korman. On paper.
Hey, when you said on paper, you meant cast. I wanted you to make sure that, not writing, because when
No. Yeah. No, the writers. No, I think And I think some of the writers.
There and I'm like, if I read this like a screenplay, I'm lost.
Yeah,
like,
no, the writers. I think, in fact, some of the writers even admitted that they were coked out of their minds when they made this.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the original script actually sounded like it might have been pretty good. Like Lumpy disappears and they're trying to track him down. That sounded like it might have been a little bit more interesting story than Waiting for Godot. I mean, Waiting for Chewbacca.
Chewbacca deadbeat dad, right?
Okay, so that brings me to my next point. This is something where I'm just like, how do we have a guy who is working as a smuggler, as his job, as the family man who has a kid and a wife and a dad at home? And he's got a nice house too. Like, I mean, I thought these guys were barely scraping by. And I mean, he's living in what I would consider a fancy treehouse.
It's that spice money.
Yeah. Jason, I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I thought when you said deadbeat dad, like, I thought, oh man, I'm watching this with too modern of a lens. I got to keep a lid on this tonight. I don't want, but then I watched that. That's kind of what I kept thinking was, is that his kid or is that his little brother? Like, I don't, and then, yeah, I don't know that I bumped on that as well. I'll just suffice to say,
Pat, don't answer this question, but how do you feel about Superman and Superman Returns?
Oh, I'm with you. I know where I'm with you.
People complain he's a deadbeat dad in that one too. So.
Dangerous creeper.
Okay, so this is a segue. So have you guys seen the Dr. Rick progressive commercials where he's a parentologist and he's trying to keep people from turning into their parents after they buy their first house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I asked my kids this question earlier. What is a dad cliche thing that I do? My son, who I thought would totally trash me, he's like, I don't know. You don't really do anything. But my daughter sends me this video that she took yesterday of me and the dog, where I'm like playing and wrestling around with the dog. And she's got the little comment above, 2 years ago, Dad says, I do not want another dog. And of course, I love the dog more than anybody in the house. That's my dad thing. What have you guys found yourselves doing, like things that your parents did that you're just like, I can't believe that I'm doing these things?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hit me. What you got?
I don't know if I've got an example specific. I'll think, but I'll tell you, I'll say something. And then all of a sudden, like, it'll be like, oh my gosh, I hear my dad. Like I will straight out hear my dad. You know what I'm saying? And like,
it's phrases, usually phrases.
And it's the sound of the voice too. That's what gets me. So
I watched Footloose the other day. So I watched the original Footloose.
Okay.
And I like Ren, but I see myself siding with the pastor a little bit more. Kids get killed when they're out driving drunk and going to dances sometimes. Kids are stupid.
You're like Roger Murtaugh. You're like, go put some clothes on.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
My kids will pick on me because I constantly doing the dad jokes. But the other thing too, my dad used to do, and this was pre-internet. He must have researched everything before we would go on any family trips, because the man would we'd take us to museums. He'd take us to all these different places. And with this knowledge, if he didn't go on Jeopardy and get like millions of dollars, then he was wasting his time, because whenever we'd go somewhere, he'd be like, well, you guys, in 1732, this particular site was, and that was pre-internet. So this guy, I don't know. I don't know how he just collected all that knowledge. I think he did actually look stuff up right before we'd go on a trip. So it wasn't just all stored up there. But he was a master of the dad-splaining. And I've been told several times by my kids that I'm kind of guilty of that too.
Yeah. My kids dare not ask me a question about 80s or 90s movies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it on. Okay. So one of the cool things about the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978, you actually do get Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford as Han Solo. You get Carrie Fisher with the buns. You get Peter Mayhew.
The hair buns. Let's talk
about hairstyle.
I'm sure she had very nice buns.
Carrie Fisher had nice buns back then. For sure by Return of the Jedi. Well, okay.
Yes, yes, your worshipfulness.
Peter Mayhew is Chewbacca. You have Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. Kenny Baker, for whatever reason,
Not there.
They used the remote control R2-D2, and
so his introduction was R2-D2 as
himself.
R2-D2, right?
And then you have James Earl Jones,
who did not get credit in the original Star Wars.
That's right.
So this is the first time that you hear that Darth Vader is James Earl Jones.
Huh.
Yep.
Wow.
So that, to me, as a kid, I mean, even as an adult, that part of me where I want to absorb anything from A New Hope, right? Anything from A New Hope. I loved the Muppet Show with Mark Hamill in it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. As a kid, I love that stuff. Anything extra I could get my hands on was awesome. And these segments are bad, but it is those characters, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they are still their characters, except that Luke, for some reason, here's the thing. So Luke can speak. He's good buddies now, for some reason, with Chewbacca's extended family. I can't figure that part out. Not only he close with them, knows their personality, they've spent months and months together, but he also speaks their language until you get to the cartoon where C-3PO says, well, you need me to go with you so that I can translate what Chewbacca says. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't we just see him talking in the Chewbacca language to?
He was doing charades.
No, because it's what it is Luke is playing a prank on Chewie. He absolutely knows how to speak the Wookiee language. It's just Chewie he won't talk to.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned, that feeling of, okay, all the stars were in there. And I get what you're saying. I mean, that's definitely wow, they got those. I mean, I kind of get the feel when watching this, it's almost like watching an episode of Saturday Night Live, right? Where they'll do a spoof on, they'll get the guest in and then they'll do a spoof on whatever movie that guest was in, where, the costumes are, those look like the costumes from the movie, but they're just a little bit more silly. Or they'll have the action from the movie, but it's a little bit more silly. And so that's kind of the lens that I kind of fell into as I'm like, oh, dude, because I'd never seen this before. I watched it just within the last day or so. And I'm like, I did, because I'm like, well, I don't want to go on the podcast and be like the guy that reads the first chapter of the book and then tries to do the book discussion. So I went all the way through. And the only thing that carried me through was just think of it like you would sitting there watching Saturday Night Live, just not funny. And that's kind of what it was it was the variety show, and it had that flavor of Saturday Night Live where they're falling into their routines, but they're looking at the cue cards, right? The sets are kind of made with a little bit of that campy thing, that campy feel, but you're excited because it's like, oh, wow, Harrison Ford is hosting Saturday Night Live tonight, or Mark, and now all three. So that it was kind of I kind of got that vibe from it. And maybe that was just a survival tactic of my brain. I'm not sure, but that was kind of what I felt watching this.
And then you start watching and you realize it's mid 80s Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Let's set the Wookiees' house on fire once this season is done.
Okay. I made a reference a few minutes ago. I probably should explain it. If you've never seen this holiday special, it revolves around Mala, who is Chewbacca's wife, Itchy, who is Chewbacca's dad, and Lumpy, who is Chewbacca's son.
Right.
They actually have better Wookiee names, but that's what they call them on the show.
Yes. Yeah. They explained it later. The thing about this, okay, so one of the variety shows that was out at the time was this thing that probably nobody remembers called Shields and Yarnell. Yes. And so they got writers from Shields and Yarnell because it was like a mime couple. And so, hey, we're going to be doing writing for people or for Wookiees that don't speak. So this seems like the right writing folks, but that wasn't who they ended up with. Ultimately, they ended up with Pat Proft, who he wrote Hot Shots, Scary Movie, Real Genius, and then Bruce Valanche, who he You know who he is?
Hollywood Squares.
Yes, Hollywood Squares all the time. He was a part of the Adam Sandler Zohan thing, and he would write for Comic Relief and the Oscar shows. So with those guys in tow, you'd think, hey, this is going to be a well-written thing.
With Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and George Lucas kind of doing the story.
Yeah. And you get Art Carney, who is a comedic actor.
Harvey Korman.
I really wish he had done this part as Ed Norton. That would have been the best. If he had just been get some stormtroopers here. That would have been fantastic.
Oh man.
And here's the thing. His character was originally supposed to be Lando.
I heard this.
And they obviously watered it down, but his character was supposed to be not involved in like trinket trade, but like human trade. And so you can see the simolarity of Lando's character, but you can also see the similarity in how he's macking down on Mala when he comes in to, like old Billy D. Williams would be done.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I'm sure we're probably going to get more into this, but good Lord, there were some really awkward scenes, awkward comments, awkward looks. In fact, the scene you're talking about when he comes in and he's talking to Mala, either on that first one with the view screen when he's talking to her, and he has like the worst possible secret code ever. What was that? What he's trying to explain to her that shaggy carpet that you ordered. I know what you're calling. It's on its way. It's going to arrive at your house. There was this little woman like 4 planets away. She did it by herself. In fact, you might say she did it by hand. Solo.
Which is why Billy D. Williams pronounces his name wrong in all of
right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you've got those scenes where there's just these awkward looks and kind of when he first came in person to the house and the way he was looking at and talking to Mala, I'm like, dude, it's Chewbacca's wife. I mean, I know he's not around, but then the first thought that jumped in my head, this is how twisted it was. The first thought that jumped in my head was Rizzo the Rat from Muppets Take Manhattan going, have you ever considered interspecies dating?
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that, I mean, Art Carney's all over Mala. Princess Leia's kind of got her hands all over Chewbacca during the red robe ceremony.
And obviously, Itchy is very into human females as well. Since Diane Carroll is just a projection of his own imagination.
Should we just talk about that? Should we
I think
jump right into that?
It's never quite explained exactly what Life Day celebrates. So, and we don't see, I don't think we see the full ceremony. I'm starting to think that maybe like there's a password to get into Life Day that, only Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman know about. And everybody's wearing masks and yeah.
It's code words, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Pat, I want to get your take on this. Okay. This was your first time to watch it. When you saw the virtual reality that Art Carney hooks up Itchy with, what's your take?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sitting there thinking. Well, I'm sitting there trying to remember, like, because the VR, the kid could get into the VR too, right? And Itchy was the dad.
Itchy's the dad.
Yeah, the dad.
Itchy's the dad. It's like, well, first of all, like I could just think like they can't be going there, and then it was just like, no, I think they're going there, Pat. Like I'm talking to myself, and it's just like,
with any doubt.
No, they really don't. And then I'm like, well, dude, this is the 70s. So, but I mean, it was like, okay, so I'm just imagining, okay, we're at the family get together and dad needs to escape. So he's going to take the VR in the back room. And all of a sudden this gal appears on screen dancing out of the mist. It was sort of like the little fairy creatures, right? It was sort of, and then it's like all your desires and all your this and all your dreams. And I was kind of half listening to this thing. And it was like,
oh, you're excited.
Yeah. I mean,
experience me, Pat.
Right. It's I'm gonna quote John's favorite movie, and I'm sorry, John, because you're gonna want to go off on the quotes there, but when he's like Good Morning Vietnam and they're doing the reviews for when the lieutenant tries to take over the show, and it was like the review was, and he looks at it and he says, you stink, eat a bag of such and such, and he goes, this review is pretty explicit, sir, not too much gray area in that one. As soon as they got to that scene where all of a sudden the gal's sitting there and what are your deepest desires or urges, I'm just like, that's pretty explicit. There's not too much gray area. They're going for what I think. And then I was like, was this a TV show? Like, what the heck is going on?
Well,
so that was my reaction. And then I knew what was going on. And
I'm wondering how many parents in 1978, I wonder how many parents are watching this with their kids. Hey kids, Star Wars, gather around the TV. Let's watch. And then this scene starts and the parents are like,
go play.
What is kids? Why don't you go get daddy another drink in the kitchen real quick? Let's leave the room.
That would happen at my house.
I have heard from multiple sources that it was their intention, the writer's intention, to make this softcore porn that they could get into a TV show in prime time. And I've heard it from several places, but I have not heard why. Why would you do that? What possible motivation could you have?
I was just going to say cocaine.
That's right.
Yeah, it was one of the writers and producers, was it Mitzi Welch, I think, had said. I think she was the one quoted as saying, yeah, we wanted to try to get in some softcore porn into the, we wanted to see as far as we could push it. Like, what could we get into this holiday special? And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm reading this quote, and I'm sitting there thinking, there are at least 7 things wrong with that sentence. How much of this can we get into that holiday special?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Based on a kid's movie.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. But the funny thing is I would say that that's not the worst thing about the special. For me, the 9.5 minutes of Wookiees talking with no subtitles was worse.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which I can understand. Somebody says, no, listen, Chewbacca doesn't have subtitles, so the Wookiee talk doesn't have subtitles. Well, yeah, that's great, but Chewbacca always had someone with him who could respond in such a way that you knew what he said. Mm-hmm. 9.5 minutes of them running around the house. And here's the thing. Here's what we found out. This thing was supposed to only be an hour long. But when advertisers found out it was coming out, there were so many people begging to be on board, they decided to stretch it to basically a 2-hour special. And that's why you have so much time that you're just staring at the screen going, what in the world? Why would anybody want to watch this? Who thought this was a good idea?
And I remember reading that they told George Lucas at the time that, because it was his idea to focus it around Chewbacca's family. And I remember reading something somewhere that they're like, okay, George, this Wookiees talking for extended periods, it's not going to work. It's like, yes, Chewbacca can do it without subtitles, but that's because Chewbacca is not standing there giving like Mark Antony's speech from Julius Caesar. You know, it's not a soliloquy. It's he talks and Han responds, or somebody else, or C-3PO translates, or and from my understanding, like that was almost the extent of George Lucas's participation, was to basically say, okay, fine, do this thing, and hey, I think you should do it using Chewbacca's family as the focal point, and that's just. Yeah, it's painful. It's painful, and it bothered me so much when I was like, when I watched this for the first time, I didn't really look up to see who like the producers were and the costume design and everything else. And then when I did finally look that up, and I was like, good, these Wookiee costumes, they look terrible. Like Itchy just looks like Archie Bunker version of Chewbacca, and the sounds are just terrible in this. I mean, it sounds lumpy every once in a while. Sounds like, you know, when E.T. is kind of chittering and running around and doing that kind of stuff. And then I looked it up, and it's Stan Winston did the creature designs, and it was Ben Burt did the sound, you know, from the Star Wars movies. And I'm sitting there going, what happened to you guys? Like, why did you let it? Was it the? Well, yes, yeah.
There it is.
They were powdering their nose during every commercial break
than they had been before.
Yeah.
Okay, so George Lucas had a little bit of involvement with it before. He had come, he had watched dailies, and the original director was actually a guy that went to USC with him. It was a guy named David Akomba, and after like 2 days of shooting, he was like, I can't.
Forget this crap.
This is terrible. I can't get along with the producers. And so they brought in this guy named Steve Binder. Now, Steve Binder had done a couple of really big, like he did the Petula Clark TV special, which was in 1968, which was a huge deal because it was like she was singing a duet with Harry Belafonte and touches his arm as part of the singing. Well, in 1968, apparently that was a huge deal, and people were like, executives were like, we can't show this in the South. People will lose their minds. A white woman touching the arm of a black man, and basically they did it anyway. And so he was a big part of that. And then he was also part of the Elvis Presley 68 comeback special, which was huge because nobody knew who the crap. I mean, I said nobody knew. People didn't recognize Elvis anymore. 68, he had lost all his fame, and that really was a big comeback special for him. But the only information that he got from George Lucas was the Wookiee Bible. That's it. That's all he had. That's just the details of how they should look and behave, and that's all he's got going for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent involved in this show. It just didn't come together. There was no real oversight.
Yeah.
George Lucas.
I think you guys missed the quality acting with the eyes. Like, you knew what she was feeling just by the long, slow close up that they held on her face for so long. Like, she really missed and loved Chewbacca. And
she did. You could.
You look at that picture. I don't know why you need subtitles for that. I mean, anybody who's had their, this is someone they love can identify, and I think that's what they're banking on. As far as John saying with the costumes, I did watch this with my 17-year-old son, which was hilarious because it was kind of like punishment. He was excited about it at first because I started watching it, and then I brought it up, and he's like, "Oh, really? There was a special." So we started watching. I said, "Yeah, you're going to sit down. You're going to watch it." So we started watching it literally on the TV because we had it pulled up through Apple TV or whatever. The quality looked really good, so we might have had the version that you had. But it looked like Dr. Zaius from the Planet of the Apes. That was like lumpy, like a young Dr. Zaius. And then if anybody's ever seen the Nairobi Trio from what's his name, the TV guy, Ernie Kovacs, that's what Itchy reminded me of. You said a cross between kind of Archie Bunker, but if you look at the costumes, if you just type in Nairobi Trio, black and white pictures might not look as good, but that mask, just his face and his lip, it just looked absolutely horrible. So yeah, it was.
As Wookiees age, their bottom lip grows.
I like pulled up over it. Like, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm sorry. I just have a quick question. Dennis, I'm curious. Some of the stuff we were just talking about. You remember seeing this, and I guess I'm curious. Like, did at any point when you were watching this, did you get like, this isn't good, like as a kid, this isn't good, or like that scene where the mystic lady appeared out of the VR? Did that get awkward for you? And then flipping forward, when you watched this with Hunter, did you bump on any of those things? Like, oh, this is not going the direction that I want to, like, if you don't mind me asking, I'm just curious.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm honestly, like, I started watching it prior, like a couple days ago, like a few days ago on my own. And then when it got to the weird bits and pieces, I was just like, whoa, I'm not, but I still, for the podcast, I need to watch the thing. So that's when it was like, all right. So it was put on hold. And then with Hunter sitting there watching it, my son, it was, we're eating kind of dinner and watching this. And as it's going, is just looking at his reactions. I mean, I knew what to expect already, like a lot of it, because I was like, no, this is weird. Like, it gets weird. And it was getting weirder and weirder. I will be honest. I can't say that I saw the whole entire version this time, because as this went on, to keep him watching, I had to fast forward through any of the musical numbers, skip ahead a little bit. I was like, all right, people are singing and dancing, skip ahead a little bit. All right, we're back with where that number's done. And then we go into, so anytime they kind of kicked into a musical number, we kind of like went through, we skipped a little bit ahead, but I did get enough of the weird, that weird vibe too. But, yeah. And then the B. Arthur song, I was just like, once we're out of that felt like a total Muppet song skit. Like, I don't know, that was bizarre and a little creepy with Harvey Korman coming in. I'm like, they really got Harvey Korman to like play as many parts as they could in this. They like, I think he was the bulk of that $1 million budget there. And that's why
he was on the, just for anybody who doesn't know, Harvey Korman was on the Carol Burnett show, which was one of those variety shows. And he was
the fourth funniest person on that show
out of a cast of 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
But what I'd heard is he was kind of a prima donna on that show. And so this was probably hey, I'm in the new Star Wars special. Ha ha ha. And I'm going to be pouring drinks in the top of my head and be a 4-armed cook.
One of the funny things that we were saying, like, as we're watching it, my son's like, I'm trying to think how he phrased it. He goes, so is this the is this the first one? Is this the first one? Like he was like thinking, was this before the? And I go, what do you mean the first one? He goes, the one. Was this before? Did this come before New Hope?
No, I did not.
And I'm like, if this was the first one, there wouldn't be a second one.
Right.
So
yeah, that's right.
Right.
It is. Tell me what you said then. Here, go ahead. Hey, you, Allison the Hedge. You guys don't know what movie that's from. Anyway, what'd you say? Oh, now you got nothing to say. It's literally like the movie Easy. If you've ever seen the movie Easy Money, Allison the Hedge. Anyway, go look that one up. Easy Money, Rodney Dangerfield. Good movie.
Okay, so
what'd you say? Okay, all right. Well, he'll get back to me on that. But that's what I said to him. I literally said, if this was the first one, then there would not be a second one.
That's right. Absolutely.
There's no way anybody would have. I think people. I will say that I would be interested to see how many people did stick with it for the whole time. Because when you said that, a lot of people would have clicked off. I actually don't think so, because there's enough clips of like the live action, and then when you see Luke, and you're just, it kind of keeps you just enough to where you're about to turn it off, but you're hoping that this is going to get better and it's going to make sense. Like I think there's that, like, they give you enough of a little bit of, well, Han Solo's in it, so we haven't seen him yet. Or, like you're thinking someone else is going to come in and make this better, and it's all of a sudden going to take off. Like that's what you kind of keep thinking. And then as you realize, as it would go to the commercial, I don't know if your version showed like, we'll be right back with the Star Wars Christmas special. And then I started like, please don't.
Well, and you say Han Solo is in it, but every time I saw Harrison Ford on screen, I looked at his face. I'm like, I know that look. I know that's the look my 13-year-old has when we have to sit on the couch and do the family Zoom once a week, and he doesn't want to be there. That's what that look is.
I was thinking, how you wanted to be killed off? I think this is the reason he wanted to have his character. Like this probably did it. Like at this point, he's like, shit,
Look, George, I'm really excited about the Empire Strikes Back, but after the holiday special, I need you to kill my character. Just kill him. Just get it. It's a mercy killing. Just have it be like Life Day Part 2. I don't know.
Kind of reminded me like the whole vibe of it. Like, you were saying like Pat was maybe saying, a little bit of the Muppet type of stuff, but it reminded me of like when you go to almost like the characters were hired. You're making that Saturday Night Live comparison where the outfits and everything aren't exactly like what they were. It seems like a kind of like third rate thing, but it kind of reminds me like if you hired a bunch of people for a birthday party to do a Star Wars theme, or you went to like the old Great America when they used to have that theater where you'd go in and they'd have like a reenact and they'd have like kind of a little bit of a story about something and it would be mixed in with musical numbers. Like it was like, that was the vibe they went for, which makes sense because that was common at the time.
But that's the maddening thing is that they got Ben Burt, they got Stan Winston. Those were even actually, those were the alien costumes from the original Star Wars movie. They just like painted over some of them. And that's what's maddening about this whole thing is it was like, you were handed everything. Like you were given what you needed. You even got to pull clips from the movies and throw them in there. And you just, I can't even finish that sentence.
No, you're exactly right. That's the thing for me is, you're watching that cantina scene and that captures my attention as a New Hope fan. I'm like, wow, there's that guy and there's that guy that makes that noise. And there's those two guys that are always, but it's the lighting. It shows how well executed A New Hope was because they didn't look terrible, but you see the broad daylight on those crappy costumes. You realize, whoa, that could have been, A New Hope could have looked funky like this, And then Walrus Man and Greedo rise from the dead, even though she calls him Ludlow and, Walrus Man's arms back on. But that part was interesting to me. The B. Arthur part, we're moving along now, but
okay, time for some trivia on that note.
Okay,
characters that show up in other movies. Which character from the prequel trilogy makes a surprise appearance in Solo? I'll give you the three. Well, actually, we're not gonna. Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm gonna leave it at that. I got multiple choice, but I feel like you're gonna know the answer anyway. John's got his hand up. Anybody else?
Which character from the prequel trilogy?
Yes.
Shows up in Solo.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, so I've got. Okay, John has to answer last, given that he's the 11.
And you go first. I'm not.
Okay. Pat, what do you think?
Darth Maul?
Well, yeah. There you go. Yep.
That's it. You got it.
Okay. All right.
Hey, you got that one.
I could have got that one. I didn't think fast enough. Okay.
Okay. So we were talking masks earlier. Mala's mask was repurposed from a Chewbacca mask from the original film. And the actress that played Mala was not an actress. It was a man, baby.
She's a man.
Ladies to play this part.
She's 6'8" or whatever.
Yeah. So the actor's name is Mickey Morton, and he was not only Mala, he was also Torque, and he was also Chief Gormanda's second pair of arms.
No wonder he was reluctant to give Art Carney a kiss.
Already been hugging on the back of Harvey Korman.
Oh.
Okay, do we want to talk about Mark Hamill in makeup?
He had some guy liner going on, didn't he?
Oh my gosh.
I'm just getting out of the way here. Hold on.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Have you seen
That's terrible.
It's really bad. Have you seen the pictures where they like change the characters from Star Wars into the opposite gender, where like Luke and Han are made to look like they're women? When I saw this, I was like, holy crap, this is where they got the idea, because he's got some major makeup going on in this one. Well, and I felt a little bad. Like one of the first times I saw that, I was like, ugh, what did they do? Like, why did they just, they I don't know. He's got at least like 7 coats on. Like the first couple didn't take, so they just kept going. But then I kind of felt bad about that, because I'm like, then I read up something on it and they're like, well, it could have been because he was in that really bad car accident and he needed to have some additional makeup or So that may be, I read something, I don't know how valid that is or how accurate that is, but one of the things I read said he was in such heavy makeup because he had been in that near fatal car crash in, oh gosh, it was not long after, or actually right before Star Wars came out in 1977. Yeah, so it was the year before.
See, that's BS. I don't buy that for 1 second, because you don't need eyeliner to cover up facial scars. Yeah. And he didn't wear all that crap in Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. So, yep, you guys are right. It's January of 1977 is when he got into that accident.
But no, just a terrifying amount of makeup.
It's so orange.
He looks like Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I heard another podcast say he looked like Liza Minnelli. Gosh, I'd rather a Wampa rip my face off than look like that.
You know what? He put all that makeup on just for Mala, because he just, give me a smile. Come on. Give me a smile, Mala.
Yeah, that was creepy. I don't know how to frame this next thought, but it was just, it's interesting seeing the Star Wars world kind of like shoehorned into
corporate greed.
Yeah, corporate greed. But like, I mean, the idea that, okay, and I know maybe I'm starting to go up the meter of Star Wars nerddom when I say this, but it's just like, is that how a Wookiee family would live? I mean, the idea that, okay, well, you know, they're home and they're all cooking and there's the cooking shows and they watch the thing and the kids got the new toy. You know, it's like we're shoehorning the Star Wars world, which is supposed to be like separate than from our world, but we're shoehorning it into our traditions and our value systems and all that kind of stuff. And obviously with all the kind of smarmy kind of, hey, kind of stuff, I don't know what value system I'm referring to, but it was just, that was just kind of, it was kind of jarring to see Star Wars brought into that. Now, without 45 years of Star Wars canon and multiple movies and books and cartoons and all that, you know, I don't know if I'd still have the same reaction, but yeah, it was just like that, you know, it's the square peg in a round hole kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know how far you want me to go on like my overall thoughts of this whole thing, because I'm sure we'll get into that, you know, more towards the end. But exactly what you just said, Pat. Like, this is, to me, as I'm watching this is not take the Star Wars out. It's not a good holiday special. Like none of the jokes are funny. The musical acts are just, you're cringing at pretty much everything. Some of them are okay. Some of them are fine to stand alone, but it's not a good holiday special, and it's not good Star Wars. Like it's not even, other than the people dressing up as their characters, there's nothing in this at all that is Star Wars, because you're seeing, I mean, if this is what Wookiee life is supposed to look like, it basically just looks like Wookiees live on, the Earth in the 70s, maybe just in a giant treehouse. I mean, there's nothing mystical about it. There's nothing magical about it. It does not have the soul of the first Star Wars movie, because that's all we had at that point. And it's just, there's nothing. Life Day itself, like that's one of my big gripes. If you were going to take this, and if you really wanted it to get like the essence of Star Wars, I need to know what Life Day is. Like, what does that celebrate? What is Life Day? What is, instead of focusing on, hey, let's keep Lumpy busy with a holographic display, maybe further the story a little bit. And does Life Day tie into the Force? Like, is Life Day just a Wookiee thing? Is it religious? Is it like, how is the Empire trying to keep, is there a war on Life Day? And, people are not allowed to call it Life Day. They got to call it something else. Or I don't know. But to me, it's just, there's so many missed opportunities.
There needed to be a reason why Chewbacca had to get back for Life Day, because it was so important. Never knew why it was so important.
No. We know there's a lot of singing, and there's a lot of watching video. I mean, basically it's Thanksgiving. Everybody's watching TV and preparing food and whatnot, but we really,
it is special that now the Wookiees that never wear clothes now need to wear clothes too, robes.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was just saying that Chewbacca's got to rush back just to put on this red robe and walk around in outer space.
Why? How did they walk through space? Did they walk into the sun? What were they doing?
They're walking in space.
And where does the Tree of Life come in? Like, she gives that big speech and ends it with the Tree of Life, and I'm like, who said anything about the Tree of Life?
Can we talk? Are we ready to talk about Carrie Fisher's singing voice?
But yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Better than I thought. Yeah.
I loved that she looked like she was as high as a kite when she was singing too. She was stoned out of her gourd.
Listen, this is the last time that Carrie Fisher smiled in any Star Wars anything. She was sad in Empire Strikes Back. She was sad in Return of the Jedi. She was at least happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, drugs will do that for you.
Drugs.
Yeah, no, I mean, that scene in particular, that was probably the only couple of segments or scenes that made some of it bearable. Like, if I was going to fast forward and I don't remember who it was earlier, might have been Dennis, or I don't know, somebody else was saying, to me, I don't know, the B. Arthur scene, if you take out the weird, sexual harassment from the guy who drinks through his head, if you take that out, to me, that wasn't even a bad scene. I mean, if you're going to do something in the Star Wars cantina, at least that one takes place in a Star Wars location, and you've got Star Wars characters. Like, some of the other acts, they're completely devoid of Star Wars. Like, you could remove it from the Star Wars holiday special, dump it in some other holiday special, and it would have been totally fine. So the B. Arthur song, like, that was actually one of my, I don't want to say favorite, that's really too strong of a word, but that was one of the most tolerable parts of this whole thing. And then the Princess Leia part too. Like, everything else, I could totally toss that out the window. Those, to me, that in the Boba Fett cartoon, which I'm sure we'll talk about too, but those are really like the only three parts that I'm even quasi okay with in this whole thing.
I kind of dig the Jefferson Starship song. I thought that was a pretty decent song. And it kind of looks like he's trying to impale his head with a lightsaber while he's singing it. But
yeah.
If only they would have sung "We Built This City." That would have helped.
They could have switched it up. They probably didn't want to spoil anything, but they could have done "We Built Cloud City."
Oh, that would have been great, man.
That would have been nice. That would have been nice.
Okay. One of the things that I thought was funny. Okay, so Mr. Star Wars Geek, John, does it bother you that they called the Wookiee planet Kazook the whole time?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of knew about that, so I just kind of was like, all right. It had never been mentioned before. We'll chalk this up as I'm just going to chalk it up as a Han, Leia, Kazook, Kashyyyk. We'll just do that. It's people don't know how to pronounce names in the Star Wars universe, so I'm totally fine with it.
3 Ys is tricky.
Yeah.
So one of the things I thought was funny when Lumpy. So one of the things. So that 9-minute Wookiee, interaction, mom, dad, or mom, grandpa, and son. The one thing that we know is that Mala is a good mom, keeps the house clean, and that Lumpy is a brat.
I liked Lumpy.
Lumpy was always in trouble with Grandpa.
Yeah, but Grandpa was the jerk, not Lumpy. Lumpy was good. And you know who? Did you guys watch Buck Rogers?
Mm-hmm.
You know the little robot? Was it Twiggy?
Twiggy.
Yeah.
Same actress who played Twiggy also played Lumpy in the Star Wars Holiday.
Huh. Didn't know that.
Beady.
Hello. You want to do some trivia? Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
This is actually pretty easy. Who is the only actor to have appeared in every theatrical Star Wars film?
But I'll let somebody else answer.
Oh, I'll have to think, but
I've got a guess.
Oh.
Yep. I got it.
Dennis, you got an idea? Did you hear the question?
The only actor to appear in every theatrical Star Wars release?
Yes.
No. I've got a couple guesses, but let's see.
Give me your best guess.
On the spot.
Yeah, I'm on the spot now.
Art Carney.
Going through each one, and then I always eliminate the person because they're not in that one. I don't think.
He was the tallest Ewok.
Art Carney?
Yeah.
Akmina.
Every single one. No, not that one. I'm going to go through a process of elimination, which might take a while, so you might want to jump to back this one again.
Give it your best shot.
Is it the C-3PO character? Is it Anthony Daniels?
That's
my guess.
That is the winner.
Then I was winner.
Okay.
I guess he must have been.
But then R2-D2 wasn't with him all the time, I thought.
No, because R2-D2, yeah, because Kenny Baker, the actor that played R2-D2, wasn't always in the movies.
Got it. Okay, that's what was throwing. Okay.
And I want to say one of the only other people that might even come a little bit close would be, other than like some of the main actors, would be Warwick Davis, because he always, I think from Return of the Jedi on, he wasn't in the first two, but Return of the Jedi on, I think he was in every single one of them.
Yeah.
Now was
an actor that has been involved in more multi-million-dollar franchises than any other actor. Like he's different because he was in the Lord of the Rings stuff. He was in the Harry Potter stuff. He obviously was in the Star Wars stuff.
Willow,
yes.
Willow. He is great.
Peter Mayhew was in 7 of 9, or he was in Solo. He's been in a lot of them. So
probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Now, are we counting with the theatrical? Does that count like Solo and Rogue One?
Yep.
I'm trying and see. It's funny because I vaguely remember C-3PO in Rogue One. I don't know if I remember him in Solo.
Wasn't in the. Where was he in Solo? Was it when they went to the?
He might not have been in Solo.
I don't know.
That trivia question may be just a year or two before Solo.
Hey, you know who was in Solo though? Mala. Mala was in Solo.
She was?
Yes.
Where?
Really?
Yes.
When?
Because they were.
Was she supposed to be that Wookiee that Chewbacca kind of like he touches heads with before they separate?
Yep.
Okay.
That's Mala. Bam.
Wow. Well, that proves it. The Christmas special is canonical Star Wars.
It is. I had an argument with my son right before I came up here tonight. He's like, this is crap. This is not canon. I'm like, this is canon. He's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. So
I'll say this: it is such an interest. This is like a time capsule. If the only thing that existed in this whole world was just Star Wars, the movie, not even thinking of it as Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, but just Star Wars. Like, and everything else didn't exist. Like, if you put some dude on a desert island and just gave him Star Wars and said, and cocaine, and said, come up with something. But it's just interesting because it's like all the last 45 years of everything else that has been written and created doesn't exist. I'll give it that. It is an interesting insight into, when Star Wars was kind of raw and not as, hashed out. So,
all right. So I found it. Anthony Daniels was in Solo. He was not C-3PO.
Okay.
Oh,
He played a Coruscanti human male who was a slave working in the spice mines of Kessel in Solo. His character's name was Tak.
Nice.
So who was he in Rogue One?
Rogue One, C-3PO was in for 2 seconds in Rogue One, just as everybody's taken off at the end, and they make some comment about,
oh, right,
we're the last to hear about anything.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. All right, good call, Anthony Daniels.
So yeah, he's in everything.
Special. Nice.
The infamous Anthony Daniels. He's infamous. Means he's more than famous.
Three Amigos. Boom.
Nice. All right. Well, let's talk about this. The cartoon.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the cartoon.
Cartoon is big because it is the first appearance of Boba Fett.
What do you guys think about the cartoon? John, what do you think?
Other than the animation being a little wonky, I thought it wasn't bad. It was, for a kid's cartoon, totally fine. As an adult watching it, I'm like, wow, you guys are really trusting of this masked bounty hunter, real fast. I don't know. Anybody keeps calling me friend too often, and he's carrying this big gun and wants to be my friend and seems to have some ulterior motives here. I don't know that I'm going to question that a little bit, but Luke can be as trusting as he wants to be, but, I thought it was fine. Being the first, I think this is actually also the first Star Wars animation ever. I don't think there was ever any other animated. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. No. Yeah. So, after this, you would have had droids and Ewoks and, some of those other cartoons that would come out later. Other than the animation being a little weird, I'm fine with it. And it's the first time we get, now that we've had the Mandalorian, it's the first time we get the Ambin phase rifle and all that other stuff. And even, which is funny, I know some people have kind of argued, they're like, the movies that Boba Fett is in, before the special editions, and it was really just Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Does he really do that much that proves that he's such a, cool guy that everybody says he is? In the movies, no, not really, not necessarily. He kind of gets taken out like a chump in Return of the Jedi. And other than being able to, follow somebody, other than tailing somebody in his car, he really doesn't do a whole lot in Empire Strikes Back to just show just how cool he is. In this one, he's riding a dinosaur. So I don't know.
Did we talk about that already? I don't think we did. So I started watching it, and as Luke lands on whatever planet it is he's going to, suddenly there's a dragon that comes out of the ground and starts attacking him. And then whenever it has to escape, dives back into the ground. And I just thought, did they totally get this for the first episode of season 2 of Mandalorian? The sand dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Well, because I think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who are running and directing Mandalorian, I think they've said several times that there's quite a bit of stuff that was inspired by this cartoon. What was it? It was just called The Faithful Wookiee, I think is the title of this cartoon. And I think they've said, there's several things, especially the gun, but some of the other stuff is directly from the holiday special that they've tried to put into the Mandalorian. Well,
the skeleton of the Krayt Dragon is in A New Hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and even Life Day gets referenced in the first episode of the Mandalorian.
Oh man, I need to go. I missed that
because there was that first guy that the Mandalorian is trying to catch when he first goes into that one bar, and it's the blue skinned guy. I forget what his name is, and he captures him, and he says something about I got to try to be home in time for Life Day, or something. And I think that was the first ever, other than the holiday special, that ever gets mentioned. So that's why, at the time, Life Day, they kind of imply it's just a Wookiee thing in this one. But in The Mandalorian, now you've kind of gotten the idea that it's probably more than just Wookiee. So I really would have, in hindsight, obviously 2020, but I would have really liked to have just explored Life Day a little bit more. But that's getting off from the Boba Fett cartoon. No, I dig the Boba Fett cartoon. I like it.
And I don't know if you guys are going to jump into it. I'm curious who thought of Boba Fett. Like I'd love to know
Joe Johnston.
Okay.
Joe Johnston, guy that directed The Rocketeer, did Captain America. He designed Boba Fett and based him off of those King of the Rocket Men and some of those old movies. He loved those old movies, and he was the one responsible. He did a lot of the I don't remember if he do part of the design for the Millennium Falcon, which I know would get you excited, Pat. But I know he designed Boba Fett, and that's why then ultimately, when he had the opportunity to direct The Rocketeer later on, he's like, sign me up. This is my bag, baby.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't he supposed to be like an alternate version of a stormtrooper, like a super stormtrooper?
Mm-hmm.
And he was white and black, and they were like, "No, we don't want to do that." We changed him into a bounty hunter and roughed him up a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of. I think they were originally, and I'm not even sure they originally tagged him as a bounty hunter. I want to say originally they just kind of referred to him as Darth Vader's right-hand man. And I'm not sure that they ever
cartoon.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, Darth Vader calls him a bounty hunter in the cartoon.
Yeah.
But the weapon that he has, the gun that he has, they started producing the action figure of Boba Fett with that gun that would actually shoot the little pieces. But then some kid choked and died, and so
that was from his jetpack.
Yeah, from his jetpack. Yes, right.
Yeah, that's the one piece of Star Wars lore that I would love to add to my collection. The Boba Fett prototype with an ejecting missile.
Yeah, and there's was it Kenner? Yeah. I think it was Kenner at the time, and I think they've denied that was actually the fact. And people have said, "Well, no, I've got a prototype that I bought off of eBay for $30,000, and I can push a button and it fires, so there's this kind of back and forth that I think the toy company has tried to deny that ever happened. But there are a couple of people here and there that say, nope, I paid a pretty penny for it, but I have the actual toy that if I shot this directly into my gullet, I would probably choke to death.
Wow. So you guys remember, you guys may be too young. You may be too young. The back of the Star Wars, Dennis will remember this. You buy a Star Wars figure, and if you gathered enough of those proofs of purchase, you could send them in and get free Star Wars guys. Mm-hmm. Or not free. It was like $5 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I remember the back. That was one of the guys you could get was Boba Fett. I was like, man, I got to get this guy.
And my understanding was they had planned to make several action figures based on the characters in this show. And then when it got such negative attention, they kind of pulled back, and because George Lucas, he's all about the action figures and the, lunch boxes and everything else. So, but I think once they got the negative reviews, everybody just kind of pulled back, and they're like, nope, nope, just stop production. Stop production right now. Don't do it.
When you said earlier, this was a vehicle for him to push those kind of things, it was like, I kept thinking you know what, a second, I don't remember much coming from that. It just sort of disappeared.
No desire for the Luffy with the double action overbite.
I just think there's a Harvey Korman as the chef. That would be.
B. Arthur as Akmina. What about the B. Arthur thing? the song. Where are you guys with that? Terrible?
I think if it would have been earlier in, I would have been better with it. I was so weirded out by the other ones that it was just like one more thing that wasn't Star Wars directly related. Yeah, you had the cantina sort of feel, but it was just, I think by that point, my tolerance for anything that wasn't good, which is pretty much most of it, was really, really low. So it's like I did see some of the parts. I actually watched part of it when he came in. But the reason I actually watched it, I think, was because in some of the text leading up to this podcast, somebody had referenced, I think maybe it was Pat or whatever, the kind of the sexual harassment things, and I was thinking like, this is the moment when you see Harvey Korman walk in. So I played that part and had to listen to the dialogue and see how things would go, because I'm like thinking, is this the part he's talking about? And it was, yeah.
We refer to that as R2 Me Too. Speaking of which, I did look up a picture. They had some of the prototypes for the action figures for the holiday special, and the only prototypes they made were Chewbacca's family. And basically, all it is it's the, I don't know if you guys ever had the classic, just the first round, like phase 1 action figures that came out after Star Wars. It's the classic Chewbacca action figure, and basically the difference is they've just kind of colored each one a little differently. So it's Chewbacca, and then it's like, whoop, they've shrunk down Chewbacca for Lumpy, and the coloring is a little bit lighter. And then they've got another Chewbacca, and they've taken off the bandolier, and they've just colored his head white, and the rest of him is brown. And then Mala is basically Chewbacca colored a very light tan with a little bit of, how shall I say, chest articulation. And so it makes, looking at them, and I haven't zoomed in on the picture, and I really don't want to, it's a little awkward. The other thing they said, I was reading this article here, and they said that one of the things that they never made a prototype of, but they had sketched out, was a toy of the sea serpent that Boba Fett is riding on there. So they had plans to make, of course, they made Boba Fett prototypes and had the original ones were colored the way he's colored in this holiday special. And then they did Chewbacca's family, and then they were planning to do the sea serpent toy. And then they got the reviews of the show, and Kenner's just like, nope. Pull the plug.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the final scene. We've waited an hour and 20 minutes for Chewbacca to show up at home. The Imperials have just trashed Lumpy's room. They're looking for rebel stuff. They can't find anything. Art Carney's trying his best to help out. Han and Chewie show up. As soon as Chewie shows up, he's taken under gunpoint to protect Lumpy, and Han whacks the gun out of the stormtrooper's hand, and then the stormtrooper trips over some firewood, falls to his death.
Banana peel.
And then Han proceeds to tell Chewbacca's family how much they mean to him. It's this very touching moment. And then they're off to hear Princess Leia sing. What do you guys think about that final scene?
I mean, how hard is it to have a somewhat decent fight? Like, I mean, they weren't even asking for a long fight scene. I mean, that could have redeemed some of it if there would have been a little bit of a fight, I mean,
there was more action in the cooking scene.
I know I'm kind of missing the point, but I mean, have something where Chewbacca picks up the guy and chucks him over, or, I mean, heck, you know what? Just drop in the scene from the Death Star when they get into the shootout where, they bring Chewie in and they're trying to break into look out, he's loose, like that. Just drop that. And I would have enjoyed watching that again. Like, just give me something. But it was almost like the boom kind of thing. I mean, you kind of had that kind of stuff going on, and see, Go ahead.
That's the scene. That feel of it is what literally makes me think of some sort of show that I saw, Great America, in the theater, where at the end they have to tie it up and somebody comes in and it's like, boom, we won and we freed the princess. It was kind of like some sort of cheesy thing that happened back then. It was literally that literally brought me back to that kind of like, this reminds me of like some actors just playing it. They're live on TV. It's like live on stage, and they're just going to come in and save the day and wrap it up for the kids, the little kids. It was like, because they can't make it too violent is what it seemed like. But then at the same time, you had all those other weird things going on. So where were the thoughts of the kids? Can't show them any violence here, but we can definitely throw in the sexual harassment and the lean horn and all that. Yeah.
Softcore porn.
Yeah. I do want to say what redeems that fight scene for me is the fact that the stormtrooper did perform the Wilhelm scream as he did fall over the railing. So I'm okay with that.
Nice.
Well, that, and I think the stormtroopers brandished the guns, but they never actually pulled the triggers.
Yeah.
I mean,
the side handle.
and I mean,
Well,
side handle. And I think he was holding it right in front of his head, so it would have ricocheted, or not. It would have recoiled right into his forehead, or I don't know what the heck it was.
Well, and I mean, Kashyyyk is probably it's probably one of those planets it's a little bit probably further away from the galactic center. Maybe the supplies don't. I mean, they got to pay per blaster shot now, so they're really trying to watch they're trying to watch their quotas and everything else. So. We don't
all their money on miniature aquariums.
Right.
And itty bitty circus performers and.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the first Death Star got blown up, so the Emperor has really asked everybody to just kind of, tighten their belts up and get ready to save some money so we can start building another one. And budget cuts everywhere, so we can't fire any shots right now.
That's something we didn't really talk about. What do you guys think about the sort of at the beginning? You have the hologram chessboard that they had in Star Wars where they played chess, and then you have all these weird circus performers. That doesn't even, I mean, who thought that would be a good idea?
We have to take what should have been a 30-minute episode and expand it into 2 hours. Yeah. What can we do?
Mm-hmm.
But nothing seemed connected. That was what it was so weird. You could literally make, nothing was connected.
And talking about not connected, during the cartoon, suddenly in the middle of the cartoon, we get a voice which almost sounds like Captain James T. Kirk saying Starlog and then explaining what's going on in Boba Fett's head. I'm just like, where did that guy come from? Why are we saying Starlog? Who, what?
Yeah. A lot of random stuff.
Well, there's so much. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say my last thought on Boba Fett, because I know you said he really didn't have much of a role in that original trilogy. And that's why I was wondering who wrote that character, because somehow he managed to capture our attention and all our feelings, and not feelings that was the wrong word, but the fan favorite, kind of not even cult status, but that was a fan favorite aspect of Star Wars. To even before the prequels came out, people were like, man, that was such a cool character. And really, that's how you kill him off. Han bumps him and he flies it. That's not right. And I just think it's cool that you have a character like that was able to capture the fandom's, feelings about it. Something that came out in the cartoon. And I mean, if I had to pick one thing that I enjoyed in this Boba Fett cartoon, right? I just think that's cool that, whatever, that character was able to attain mystical status with not a lot of material. And that's where now with Mandalorian and everything, we're going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because wow, we get to see more of this character.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say spoiler alert, but and I haven't seen the last two episodes.
Okay.
Recent episodes. But it was at the end of, was it episode 1 of season 2 that we see Boba Fett without his gear on walking toward the camera.
You're two behind. But
don't tell me what happens in these most recent 2 episodes.
Okay.
But him getting eaten by the what's it called?
The Sarlacc.
Are like,
this
dang it.
didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Well,
right?
he got out.
Yeah.
He escaped.
He wasn't digested over 1,000 years.
No.
I'm seriously, I'm sweating in places I didn't know I had. I'm sorry. Like, I danced right on that line. I apologize for that. I should have been talking about, I hope I didn't spoil anything or whatever. I apologize.
If you did, I wasn't smart enough to catch it. So we're all good.
Okay, good. So sorry, listening audience. Sorry.
You're right. We've waited since 1980 or 1978 for Boba Fett to do something. And last week he finally did. That's 40 years.
Yeah.
That's 40 years of capturing our attention. So, all right. So as are we wrapping? Are we getting close to?
I got nothing spectacular to say. It's hard to find good stuff to say about something so bad.
Well, let's talk about it. Does anybody have anything good to say about the holiday special?
I got to say, one thing I wish they would have done is I would have loved to have seen Bill Murray do his Star Wars song, his lounge singer song in this holiday special. That would have been amazing.
He should have been a bartender.
Yeah.
So Robin Williams actually got suggested by, I think it was Steve Binder that suggested Robin Williams, and he was willing to do it, but CBS turned him down.
Yeah.
Now, if Robin Williams had been either the Art Carney part or the Harvey Korman part, we might have had an entirely different experience. But, and this is something that I just thought about, we are so used to things having either a live studio audience or a laugh track in them. And there seemed to be parts in here where Art Carney was trying to deliver a joke, which just admittedly was just not funny, but might have been a little bit better had we had just that canned laughter behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Robin Williams would have been able to nail it.
He'd have had something for us.
Yeah. I think the problem with that, because what did we say? The budget for this was $1 million. Yeah. So budget for this was $1 million, and that was enough to probably supply the cocaine for the writers that were already doing it and Carrie Fisher. I mean, if you add Robin Williams to it, you're at least going up to $3 million probably. So they probably couldn't afford him. Is the problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was Mork.
Well, I think this was Mork and Mindy start
70s.
Yeah, but was it early 70s or was it late 70s? I was thinking
it was right around.
Because it was a spinoff of the Happy Days character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what? 70s.
Mork and Mindy started 2 months before this came out, September 78.
Okay.
So he wasn't a name. Yeah, he wasn't a name yet.
Yeah.
I mean, the cocaine might have been expensive, but his paycheck was
right.
Cocaine was cheap back then.
Yeah.
See, anything with these type of movies, though, how do you, you know that like what goes into a movie and how things are made, and it's like there's meetings and scripts and there's feedback and there's and it's just like I just am amazed that so many people okayed this. Like somebody didn't think this was a problem, even as they were filming it. Like at some point you would think. I mean, I've done things where you're working on something and all of a sudden you go, this is just crap. Like, this is just not good. Like, why would we continue with this? We can't do it. Where was a voice somewhere in there that stopped and said, we need to make this better? Like, okay, let's do it still, but we need to really fix this. Like there had to been some,
we were talking
because like the only other thing I can think that gets made like that is The Room. Like when you see the story of The Room, you know why it got made. Like that's what everybody said. Like, how did The Room get made? How did all the filmmakers? Because how the people doing the cameras, who how did they know? Like, how didn't they know that this was so horrible? Well, then when you see The Room, you realize that they did, but there was just somebody supplying a bunch of money who was going to do this no matter what. I don't think that was the case here. So how did all these professionals who were, can come up with the quality of Star Wars and be somewhat associated with that, still sit there and give this the green light? It's just, I don't know.
We talked last week, we were talking about Lethal Weapon and Die Hard. And so you get The Last Action Hero with John McTiernan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Shane Black. You get all that talent in the room, and just sometimes it just gets away from you. And there was talent involved in this, it just got away from them. Didn't come together.
I think it's like the actors, like even though they had a big hit, obviously with Star Wars, they were relatively no names up until that point. Harrison Ford, and they weren't anything like big. Because I would think them, would be, even them as actors would just be like, this is just not good. Why are we doing this? Like,
especially Harrison
Ford. They have to deliver the lines and be in it.
Yeah, especially him. You could just tell that he was being forced to do something he did not want to do.
Mm-hmm. Stare at Mala. No, stare at her.
Well, and that's this one just, it does so much. And I'm glad that beyond when it aired in 1978, that a lot of people have not seen it unless they've sought it out on YouTube, because this does more. I know people complain about with the prequels, they complain, they're like, well, the idea of introducing midi-chlorians, like that takes away from the mysticism, that takes away from the good Lord. If more people had seen this thing, I'd be more worried about the Star Wars holiday special turning people off from the magic of Star Wars than any midi-chlorians could ever do. It just, it does not, I think I said it earlier, it doesn't have the heart of Star Wars. It's not, it doesn't fit in with the rest of the mythos. It doesn't forward any of that at all. It's just, it feels purely like a cash grab. I know George Lucas's intent was to sell some more merchandise and keep Star Wars in people's minds while they were getting ready for Empire Strikes Back, but good Lord, it backfired. And I know there's a funny quote from him. I know that he said it was something like, if I had the time and a sledgehammer, I'd go find every copy of this and smash it to pieces.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, it says
Jar Jar
something
Binks
about
look good.
the strength of the series, that it was able to become the powerhouse that it has become despite this early travesty.
Yeah. Well, I think that George Lucas turned the reins over to other people so he could concentrate on Empire Strikes Back. And that to me is I'm fine with that trade. Give us this crap holiday special, go work on Empire Strikes Back, and give us Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Fine with that.
Yeah.
Pat, Dennis, what do you guys got? Anything good from this? Anything worthwhile? Anything worth watching? For those who haven't seen it, what do you say?
You know what? I kind of my earlier point, see where the Boba Fett character with the cartoon came from. I mean, I just, I didn't know hardly anything about this until I heard, hey, the Shirley podcast wants to do and have you guys for the Star Wars special. I'm like, oh yeah, you guys have talked about I literally knew nothing about this till about a week ago. Right. So somehow I was, able, and then they said, well, it's the origin of Boba Fett. And it's like, well, dang, that's pretty cool. So I would say the Boba Fett cartoon, and I know we've kind of had mixed reviews on Carrie Fisher singing. And like I said, I mean, singing as Princess Leia. Okay. That was a little bit like, okay. But I mean, sometimes we've got movies that come out now where actors or actresses are trying to sing in the movies. And then the second thing is, then you've got some movies where it's like, no, they can really sing. They gotta, they can bring it. It's just, they've never had a role yet. And so I don't know. I always like to see that extra dimension of certain actors and actresses. And I always frame it with, no one's hiring me to do any kind of professional singing. No one's hiring me to do any kind of professional trumpet playing. So I say that humbly, because it's like, I don't have any Christmas specials that I'm singing on, but that was kind of like that's just cool to see her, in a different light.
Pat, the fact that I know I can say this to you, and I almost want to apologize that up until a week ago, you were still pure as the driven snow and you hadn't seen this yet. I know that you are also a church-going person, so I'm just going to put it this way, Pat. In Matthew chapter 18, it says, whoever causes one of these little ones to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. I feel a little bit of responsibility for having you watch this now when a week ago you were just fine.
Hey, you know what? It's better to know what's out there before, I grow up and leave the house. And then, it's better that I experience it with you, John,
okay,
where it's a place of safety before I leave the house and have to face that in the dangers of the world.
We have a safe word, and it's Life Day.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Pat, I got something for you. Since this was your favorite part, the voice of Boba Fett is a guy named Don Franks, who hasn't really done a whole lot of stuff. I mean, he did a whole lot of stuff, but nothing spectacular. But he was also a jazz musician, and
Really
a good jazz musician from what I have read. So maybe something to check out. Don Franks, spelled Franks.
Don Franks. All right. Hey man, thank you. Like seriously, when we're done here tonight, I'm gonna check that out.
Cool.
Yeah, right on. That's cool. Thank you.
All right, Dennis, anything worthwhile?
I mean, I would just not really much. I mean, but if you've heard our podcast, I mean, this makes, if I had a choice between this and Howard the Duck, I mean, I might watch Howard the Duck.
Whoa!
Wow!
Whoa!
If I had to watch it again, I couldn't sit through this again.
Wow! Because when we recorded,
you got angry and left the podcast.
You
I did.
You stood up.
You rage casted.
I couldn't sit through this again. At this moment, if you told me you have to sit through another movie that's going to be about an hour and a half long or 2 hours long, it's either Howard the Duck or it's this. Right now, having watched this just so recently, it would have to be Howard the Duck.
You stomped out of the. You left during Howard the Duck and came back and were just like, you didn't even sit down. You were just sitting there during our podcast and just like Howard the Duck. Like,
I had to do a lot of editing in that. I had to do a lot of editing in that episode because you dropped a couple of F-bombs and then you walked out. and then I think
you guys tormented me with pictures of him in the bathtub for a while.
Because then I took your computer and I changed the desktop background to the full frontal duck nudity. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
I needed therapy after all that episode, so I finally have gotten to it. But
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think I just have I have such a disdain for like when people break out into musicals and songs for no reason. Kind of like Monty Python, where he's like, no, there will be no singing here. None, it's not in the tower. And it's that literally is like every time it went, I was like, no, come on. And I started reaching for the remote. Like the only way I'm going to get through this is if I kind of visually fast forward through those spots. That's it.
Wow.
But yeah, it was tough. It was definitely, I mean, you saw my text. I mean, it was supposed to be yesterday, but the text came through today because of the whole phone debacle. But like I said, I'm going to have some weird dreams, and I did have some weird dreams. I can't tell you what they were, but I had weird dreams last night.
Did it involve Diane Carroll?
Yeah. Purple frilly stuff on her head.
Yep.
Wow.
It's strange.
So this, like, one of the quotes about this show is that it is not one of, but the worst 2 hours of television in television history. So I think this is a great measuring stick. If you picked the movie or movies that you hated most and had to choose between that or this movie, which one would you watch? And I'm thinking about Showgirls and I'm thinking about Jaws 3. I think I would pick Holiday Special above those two.
Showgirls. Okay. That's fine.
I might watch Jaws 3 before Holiday Special, but I would never, ever, ever watch Showgirls again. If you had, okay, I've got pinking shears, you can lose a toe or watch Showgirls, I'd have to think about it for a little while.
Showgirls is terrible.
Is worse.
I don't know if I had to pick between Kindergarten Cop 2 and this.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know.
Kindergarten Cop 2?
Worst movies are coming out now.
You have to pay a whole bunch of money in late fees for Kindergarten Cop 2, right?
What? I didn't even know that was a thing.
The year was 2018.
But you didn't get through the room, did you?
What?
Did you get through the room, John, though? That's what you were talking about. You did to Pat. We kind of did to you with the room.
Yes, I got through the room. Thank you, Dennis.
See? Here's where he gets angry. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Dolph Lundgren? What the actual heck?
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's
Bill Bellamy.
Yeah.
What?
No.
Yeah, Bill Bellamy's in it with him.
That sounds
You've
great.
not seen that?
No.
Don't look into the trap, Ray.
Yeah.
Don't look into the trap.
No. D. Just
Or Egon.
D. Let's pretend that you and I are tied up to a stake. Don't look at it, Marion. Don't look. Shut your eyes. Keep your eyes shut. Don't look at it. No, I made like 20, maybe 22 minutes into that movie. It was a weekend where my wife was going to be gone for the weekend, and I went to the library and I checked out a whole bunch of movies. I was like, I got some time to watch some movies now. And I started that one, got 22 minutes into it. I was like, No, this is not good. I will rarely turn off a movie, and especially I'll normally give it even longer than that, but I was like, nope, wasting my time. I'll move on to something else. And then I thought I returned it to the library until like a month and a half later when I ended up having to pay $17 in late fees for this stupid movie. So, I hate Kindergarten Cop 2.
When you do that type of thing, or you rent a movie and you pay a lot for it, it's that bad. If it was like, I've forgotten some and I haven't returned to the library, but if it was a good movie, I feel like, you know what, that was worth $20 that I owe in fees, whatever it might be, because it was 20 days. I'm like, that type of thing, when it's that worst movie, if it was like Howard the Duck or this Christmas or the holiday special here, yeah. I would not have finished that if it wasn't for podcast.
No, see, Dennis, the room only wasted my time, but it allows me to joke about it. I can't even joke about Kindergarten Cop 2, and it wasted my time and my money. So it's the trifecta. That's why I can't get over that one.
Yeah.
So did you watch The Disaster Artist, John?
I did actually like that one.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen bits of The Room, but it was that one.
You've got to watch The Room first.
Of it.
I suggest watching the first 20 minutes of The Room on mute.
No.
Okay.
Dennis, it's the sounds.
You got to watch all of The Room.
No. When you no.
Otherwise, The Disaster Artist doesn't have the same impact. It doesn't.
Fine. When you get to the love scenes in The Room, hit mute, please.
Okay.
It's just Dennis, real quick. What did you think of Madden's choices for the Cubs pitching lineup in the World Series run there? What did you feel about that?
It's a trap.
Hey guys, get ready. You're going to see a great show. Dennis, what'd you think about that Bartman guy in Chicago? Like, guys, get ready. You're going to see some fireworks.
And here goes in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Okay.
There you go. Center yourself.
So
Center yourself, Dennis.
What is your movie of hate? What is your worst of the worst movie?
Well, I got to be careful of this because, like, apparently there's some people that have been calling into our show. Well, actually, and thank you to all of the folks that support our shows and all that. But it's funny. It seems like everybody that supported our shows has come back and said, Canagel is ripping on my favorite movie. And I'm like, I want to be really careful now with what I say because it's happened like twice in the last week. And I'm like, I'm sorry. So anyways,
we just had a Patreon episode that we recorded with one of the guys and Pat a few, it's like, what was that, a couple months ago now, maybe, had ripped on Home Alone. And so we're on this Patreon recording with this person who has supported our show financially. And we asked him, so what's one of your favorite movies? He's like, oh God, Home Alone.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry, man. Well, I don't think I've ripped on the movie. I just ripped on some of the characters in the movie. Right.
But then it was the other Patreon person wrote in and was like, yeah, I really love your guys' show, but then you start dogging on Blue Velvet. And I'm like, oh man, that's another one.
I've been dogging on that movie too. So I want to be careful, and I'll just say the movies weren't my speed. I really, honestly, I struggle with the movie Pearl Harbor. That's the one the guys always give me a hard time with. I struggle with that one on several levels, and I don't want to take everyone's time and just go on a rant with that one. But that's one that's, I can't even like cringe watch it. It's just like, okay, I'm down, I'm out, and that's one that I'll turn off. And if it's someone's favorite show, like, hey, that's fine. It just didn't work for me. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I want to be careful of that deal, but.
Okay, so if you get a pick between Star Wars Holiday Special and Pearl Harbor, which one are you going to watch?
Okay, so you phrase it like that. You know what? Honestly, I'd pick the Star Wars one because I could laugh. Yeah. I picked the Star Wars one because I could laugh, and like the Pearl Harbor one, like I just start to get like kind of angry. But yeah, the Star Wars one because I could laugh and. Seriously, like even like when Itchy Bun or whatever the Wookiee's name was that was watching the thing, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is really inappropriate. Like I can kind of find the humor in that whole thing, So, yeah.
Okay, Jason, Star Wars Holiday Special or Last Action Hero?
Well, I really dislike Last Action Hero, but the movie that I hate is The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
I have a very emotional response to The Last Jedi because they took something I loved and they turned it against me. So I will take the Star Wars Holiday Special over The Last Jedi.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
I understand that was made at a better quality, but I still get Luke as Luke. I don't get Luke as bitter old man.
Is that what you were referencing before, the thing that you felt kind of turned against you, is how Luke was bitter old man? If you don't mind me asking.
I have a real strong reaction to The Last Jedi. So
God.
I know you guys have been okay with it. I'm not okay with it. So
Got it. No, let's.
I'm still mad about it.
It sounds like it's, yeah.
I was going to say, I didn't even think about The Rise of Skywalker. I got that name right this time, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So Rise of Skywalker is my hated Star Wars movie.
What is Rise of what?
Any time above Rise of Skywalker, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, would I watch Holiday Special? Yeah, I'd pick Holiday Special over Rise of Skywalker as well.
Wow.
What is Rise of Skywalker?
Like, what movie is it?
No, I've never heard of this before.
Good. Good.
You just block it out.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, is it part of the is it one of the anthology ones, or is it part of the 8 canonical movies?
Oh my God.
It's one of the it's not one of the 7 canonical movies.
Oh, okay.
Well, guys, I think that about wraps it up. Anything you guys want to throw in?
I would love to see them do some kind of holiday special with The Mandalorian. Like, if they wanted to bring back some more of this Life Day stuff. I mean, if they wanted to have, and I know with their seasons, they've only got like 10 episodes per season. So it's not like, you don't want to necessarily, chunk in a whole episode just working on Life Day stuff. But I don't know, with these different anthology things that they're putting out. I know they just did a Lego Star Wars holiday special. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm sure my kids will want to watch it at some point. I think it just came out maybe a few weeks ago. Sure, we'll watch that. But I would love to see the whole idea of Life Day explored in some way in some of these shows, whether it's in Kenobi, whether it's in the Andor series, with whatever it is. Like, I would like to see this come back, because I think there's some merit to the idea, like the concept of the whole thing. It's completely wasted on this, because this is, and I said it earlier, it's not a good holiday special, even separate from Star Wars. If it was just any kind of holiday special, it's not a good holiday special. It's not good Star Wars. So it's really not good anything. But the idea of there being a holiday, and especially if you wanted to tie that into the overall mythology of Star Wars, I mean, tie it into the Force. And that's what I'm really curious about, is that even though in the original trilogy, everybody seems to have forgotten about the Jedi and the Force, and nobody seems to know anything. You have a holiday like Life Day. So what is Life Day celebrating? Like, is it a religious thing? Is it a, part of this Jedi mysticism? I mean, how tied into all of it is the idea of Life Day? So, I mean, I'd be really curious to see that.
History could be something with the Wookiee history. Yeah. And I know Favreau's joked about redoing this, or not redoing that exact story, but I would totally be up for that. See him do an updated somehow holiday special, because it wouldn't look anything really like that. But like you said, it would take some of the interesting concepts that were possibly introduced in here, and I think he would do him justice, because he being a fan, and also I think he would do a pretty decent job with it.
Just popped up. My sister just sent me a text. The Mandalorian special to debut on Disney Plus on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here.
Just popped up.
It's the but it's not like a holiday special like that. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
It's the Disney does the Disney Gallery show that they do, where they do like behind the scenes stuff for their different shows. It's that one. They're going to do like I don't know if it's like a holiday themed Disney Gallery Mandalorian episode. Yeah.
Everything I'm looking at just looks like a regular. I'm just saying it was kind of funny, because you're like, I'd like to see a Mandalorian Christmas special. And then all of a sudden a text just came in from my sister that said, Disney Plus, Mandalorian special. It was like, wow, John, you really are on 11. This is amazing.
That's an 11th level right there.
It's like Doctor Who. It's like Doctor Who. They wait till the season's over, and then at Christmas, they always have a Christmas special. It could be the Mandalorian Christmas special. You could totally do it.
I should do it.
So because you brought up Kenobi, I just looked, and Hayden Christensen is one of the two people listed in the cast.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
He should.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I'm curious how they're gonna fit that in, because then if for some reason they square off against each other, then that messes with some of the dialogue from the original Star Wars of, it's a presence I've not felt since, and then, it's been such a long time, assuming that he's dead and things like that. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to dance around that, if Vader is going to be, because I don't think they've mentioned at this point any other villains. So I'm wondering if Vader is going to be kind of...
It's got to be flashbacks, right?
Yeah.
Might be full Vader now.
His character is Darth Vader. It's not Anakin.
So I'll be curious to see how they decide to do that. If he's more of like a puppet master behind the scenes doing stuff, and the two of them never actually see each other, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, when I saw that the other day, I'm like, all right, well, they got to be careful with that. But I trust them. With the way the 2 seasons of The Mandalorian have gone, I trust them right now to take good care of it. They know what they're doing.
Mandalorian, because at the end of Last Jedi, I was like, they have no idea what they're doing. Disney is clueless. But yeah. I'm back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. With the movies.
Thank you, Jon Favreau.
Yeah. Yeah. Between Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, like if they want to, whatever you want to hand over to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, go ahead.
Seriously. I'm with you.
Yeah. I am.
Thank you so much.
I was going to say real quick before we wrapped up. Did you see the other stuff on the Rogue Squadron movie, and how is it Catherine Bigelow is directing that one?
No.
Yeah, she's going to do a Rogue Squadron movie, and
she does great work.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, not Catherine Bigelow. That wrong director. Patty Jenkins.
Okay.
Wonder Woman director.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And she has this great, there was this great video that she put out, so maybe about a week ago now. She has this great video put out where she's like rollerblading down what looks like a runway. And then she gets to her car and she sits down in like the back of the car, and she's taking off her rollerblades, and she's talking about how her dad had been a pilot, and that I think she says he lost his life serving our country and all this. She kind of goes into this stuff, and she's like, I've been looking for a movie where I feel like I could do service to how he served our country and what that meant to him and what that meant to our family and his sacrifice. And then she says, and I finally found the movie that'll allow me to do that. And she reaches behind her and she puts on an X-Wing pilot's helmet. And then she stands up from the car and she walks down the runway, and the camera turns and she's walking towards an X-Wing. And then they make the announcement that she's doing it will actually be the next theatrical Star Wars movie, and it's just titled Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, so it's got a release date at this point of December of 2023.
Yeah.
That conversation right there is better than the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, that like 2 minute, 3 minute, whatever it is, video that she does, that'll make up for watching the Star Wars holiday special.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We are so thankful for you guys, and thank you for being mentors and being friends. And thanks for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, everybody be sure and go check out the 30-something movie podcast. We're about to move into 1991. Any movie you're excited about?
Well, I've got Pat levels of excitement for our first one coming up in January, because Pat, when we first started, you guys have probably heard this story a bunch of times. When we first started the podcast back in 2015, and we were in 84, 85, I'm like, guys, what movies are you excited for? And somebody said Back to the Future, and somebody said something else, and Pat goes, Batman. Like, hold on, Pat, that's 4 years from now, buddy. I know, I don't care. Batman. All right, that's fine. So then when I started actually paying attention to the different movies that were coming up, I was like, wait a minute, 91, that's The Rocketeer. All right, cool. So yeah, that's probably the one for me. That's our first episode of 91 is going to be the Rocketeer. And then from there, we've got a whole bunch of, like our first few months, we've got the Rocketeer, we've got Double Impact. Like that was a fun one to watch. I had never seen Double Impact before. We've got in the span of like 2 or 3 months, we've done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and we even did, was that back in November, we did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Coming Out of Their Shells tour.
Yeah.
We did one.
Yeah.
So it's been like a trifecta of Ninja Turtles for the last few months for us. But yeah, we've got some good stuff coming up and some good stuff on our Patreon episodes too. We're gonna do Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Titans, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Patreon.
Yeah.
Apparently
Thank you.
I need to hear that more.
What is your
I'm excited for Clash of the Titans though.
Okay, so
as a fan.
Okay, so as long as we never do The Last Jedi as part of our Patreon episodes, we will have had one Patreon person we didn't offend. Okay, all right.
Showgirls.
Yeah. Okay, no Showgirls, no Last Jedi. All right, got that. But no, yeah, thank you guys so much for having us on here. I mean, it's always, we love talking movies, and we've loved getting to know you guys and having you on our show and being on your show. And, you know, I think you just reached out to us like 2 days ago. And the moment you said, I mean, you could have said any movie at all, but the fact that you said, hey, we're talking Star Wars holiday special. And the first thought that popped into my mind was, good Lord, I hate that thing. But yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Great to see you guys, and Merry Christmas to you, and we'll see you on the other side of 2020.
Yeah, see you next year.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
You guys as well. Thank you.
Great seeing you guys again.
Well, this has been our special episode with the Surely You Can't Be Serious crew on the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978. If you're still with us, God bless you and may the force be with you. But thank you so much for joining us for this very special episode. Go check out their show. If you're coming to our podcast and you haven't listened to those guys yet, check them out on Twitter. They are at Surely Podcast. You can find them pretty much everywhere. You can find podcasts, but they are the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. Great group of guys, awesome episodes every single time. So go check them out if you haven't already. If you want to find out more about our show, head over to 30podcast.com, 30podcast.com, and you'll find out all about our show, where to find us on Patreon. If you want to donate to us on Patreon, just kind of help us keep the lights on here, keep everything going. We also have some different benefits you can get there if you help donate at different tiers. But you become a co-executive producer of the show, and that gets you access to the special episodes that we put out once a month just for our Patreon subscribers. If you are coming up here on 1991, which will be our next year when we get into 2021, I almost forgot there. I didn't want to redo this year over again. When we come into 1991 next year, we're going to take just a little bit, maybe a week or so break. As I probably come out to about a couple weeks or so. But on January 6th will be our first episode of the new year. That will be The Rocketeer. And then we're going to follow that one up the next week with Double Impact. The week after that, it'll be Backdraft. The week after that, it'll be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. And then round about the middle of the month of January, we will be doing the 40th anniversary of the Clash of the Titans from 1981. Thank you so much to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast guys for inviting us to be guests on their show. Had a wonderful time with you all. Everybody, have a wonderful Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, happy holidays, happy Festivus, whatever you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate, just everybody stay well, stay healthy, and, stay gold, Pony Boy. Either way, whatever you do, hoping you're having a really good time, hoping you're having a great end to the year 2020, good riddance to 2020. We'll see you in 2021. Everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies. We'll see you here next year.